Sir, congratulations on the new gig, and congratulations on becoming a lightning rod for the old guard to shoot their bolts at.
Thank you, but this is not the greatest accomplishment of the last year. That it's a distant second to attending the draft party, Marek versus Wyshynski in New York, just 13 months ago.
Okay,
Marek reminds me, by the way. Yes,
I
please, go ahead.
I gotta jump on something here, Kyle. My favorite moment at that, because I'm like, okay, my buddy Kyle is coming down. I've known Kyle for a long time, and Sheldon's coming, the head coach of the Greyhounds, and Richard's there, and so I come over and I introduce you to Greg, and Sheldon's there. I'm talking to all the guys and having a beer, and all of a sudden, I introduce Greg to Joe Cirella. And regardless, like, hey, here's Kyle Dubas, young up-and-coming general manager, going to be a GM in the NHL one day, and here's Sheldon Keefe, an outstanding head coach of the Greyhounds, and he's going to make his way to the NHL as well. Greg turns to me and goes, that's frickin' Joe Cirella. Joe Cirella's sitting, because Wish is, of course, like the biggest New Jersey Devils fan. Like the biggest pop of the entire night, with all due respect, Kyle, was when Greg got a chance to meet Joe Cirella.
It was great. Yeah, it was the most excited I've ever seen certainly anybody there that night. But Joe brought out the best in Greg, which was great.
Yes. It was basically like Marek came over and said, "Oh, here's an actor by the name of Ryan Gosling, and here's his friend Carrot Top." Carrot Top, and then I just.
That's the first time Joe Cirella has ever been compared to Carrot Top, for sure.
I was going to say, might want to go for something different. Hey, Greg mentioned sort of, becoming the lightning rod, or sort of the battleground for the old guard versus the new guard. How have you felt it now, just sort of a week into the gig?
You know what? I really haven't. I've been asked by a few people, and I haven't really had the chance to read a whole lot of what's been going on. The PR staff here and some people and some of my family and friends have kind of made mention of it, but I guess it's to be expected that it would kind of go that way. People trying to determine whether I'm a hockey guy or an analytics guy, and then the reality of it is that I'm someone who's worked in hockey my entire life that over the past number of years has begun to develop a usefulness for analytics that have really helped us in the Soo over time, and especially in the last 18 months or so, as we've been able to gather more information. And it's a piece of the puzzle. It's not the whole secret sauce or anything like that. It helps out and has been a big help to us in reducing uncertainty and just gathering more information. But it's not a one way or the other type proposition with me or with us. It's just incorporating as much data and information we possibly can.
Did you get headhunted by the Leafs and Brendan Shanahan, or was it a position that you had to apply for and stuff?
No, I was away in Mexico. My wife, now Shannon, and I got married there at the beginning of the month, and on the Friday night that we were there, I got an email. It was after our rehearsal and our rehearsal dinner. We were walking back to our room, and my phone was off there, but it only got emails when Wi-Fi was available, and my phone started buzzing a bit, and I checked my emails, and there was one from Brendan saying that he had been talking to some people and talked to David Branch, and just wanted to see if I had the chance to talk and get together at some point, and we got together when I got back from Mexico, and just kind of started to take off from there.
How did you meet Brendan? I'm always curious about the associations and who brings who in, and maybe that's just an old school way of thinking. But what's the association between Kyle Dubas and Brendan Shanahan?
I met Brendan actually in New York when the NHL draft was the infamous Marek versus Wyshynski draft party.
Legendary now. Legendary, isn't it?
Yes, and we met there briefly. Joe Cirella actually introduced me to Brendan, and that was when he was still with the Player Safety Department. That was just in passing and very briefly, and so I guess the connection, as he said, was just from talking to people in hockey and from talking to people in our league that my name was one that was brought up to him that he wanted to meet and talk to. So I don't think it's a real traditional story of people knowing each other and playing together and working together or scouting together, anything like that. It's just kind of one meeting, and it kind of took off from there.
Yeah, figures the one time Brendan Shanahan isn't at Foley's is the night we have the party. Getting on the analytics thing, I mean, what areas of the game from that approach do you value? Like, what are there certain metrics that you think are essential in your player evaluation? Are there some that you think are a little bit maybe overrated that people have kind of fallen in love with?
I think all of it. I think anything that happens on the ice, you can if you can clearly explain it and have an idea of what you want to gather, you can find a way in the game of hockey. I know people will say in baseball it's different because everything is static. It starts, it stops, everything resets on every pitch, and so on and so forth. But in hockey, the game is so fluid. People are saying it's tough to gather different things, but you can kind of reach and track a bunch of different things that aren't really mainstream yet. And I think it all has value. It's just a matter of, as we gather more data and go through more years, trying to find out, which pieces of data can help us to eliminate uncertainty and which ones are, maybe not what we thought they were, and trying to stay ahead of that curve. But it all adds to benefit. Personally, for me anyway, it's all added to help when I get away from being able to track stuff and I'm going to scout players, whether that's at the minor midget level or junior A, junior B level when I was in Sault Ste. Marie. And I've just really found that it helps me when watching the game to identify subjectively things that we know objectively can help our team win hockey games.
How difficult is it, though? And I know you had people that know a guy by the name of Tyson Enfield, who does corporate sponsorships with the Greyhounds, handled a lot of the collecting of statistics and analyzing what happened on the ice, and that was shared amongst your group in the Soo. But how difficult was it, specifically in junior, where the stats collection is pretty primitive, as you know, Kyle? How difficult is it not just to collect stats on your team, but if you're playing Kitchener, you're playing Sudbury, you're playing Guelph, how difficult is it to get sort of a league-wide snapshot of some of the comparative stats that you want/need?
In major junior, it's difficult, and that's one of the things that our staff in the Soo said to me as well. Is this past weekend, while people are saying it would be tough for us with a numbers-based approach there, and that's what I mean. It wasn't really numbers-based, so people looking like we didn't make every decision by just taking the numbers, and nobody does that in hockey. Even those who are really strong analysts, online or in print media, wherever it may be, they are all watching the game. So, I mean, they're not just sitting there at the computer and generating a list of this guy's good and this guy's bad, and this is what the numbers tell me. Everyone's watching the games, and I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions. But specific to Sault Ste. Marie, we were able to begin tracking everything that we were doing there. But when it came to identifying players on other teams in the league, we really had to be efficient. The first year, it was just me. And then the second year, we brought Tyson in. But in order for Tyson to be employed by our team, he had to also handle ticket sales. So we had Tyson, who was doing ticket sales full time, and he and I didn't have time to sit and build the whole thing. So Tyson worked to build a method to properly track it without me sitting there just charting games myself and putting it in when I had time in the first year. But in the second year, Tyson developed that, and then we would have a method whereby if we were looking for other players in the league in that second year, we would begin to track them and try to identify players and other teams subjectively that were doing some of the things that we knew led to favorable outcomes.
Do you trust the numbers on sites like Extra Skater, for example, that are sort of based on the numbers produced by NHL game reports? Like, I guess what I'm asking is, are there two sets of numbers: the internal data that NHL teams and junior teams compile themselves, and the data that's available to fans that then kind of crunch their own numbers with? Is there a difference in those numbers, or is it all the same data?
I think there's definitely going to be a difference. There's going to be a difference in how two people watch the game. You and I sit and watch the game, Greg. You may think that a pass is a shot. I may think the alternative is true, and that's basically an event that's charted one way or the other, right? And so there's always going to be that level of subjectivity that goes into the numbers. But I mean, in the best way I think to track that is to take the game log and then just for clarity's sake, go back through it every so often, every X number of games, know if the score is different or if there's certain biases in certain scores, you can start to pick those up and begin to find out what the margin for error is, or find out if there's a huge margin for error, because I think worse than having no information is having bad information and basing any sort of expertise off of that.
I just assume that if Joe Thornton has the puck, it's a pass.
Well,
I guess I can't talk about him anymore. But
you're done now.
Yeah. Former Soo Greyhounds. Soo Greyhound legend Joe Thornton. But
I was gonna say, is it considering tampering if you talk about a player like Jared McCann signing with the Vancouver Canucks? And I guess it kind of is, Kyle. Hey, when did
Jeez.
When it's weird, eh? It's a whole new reality talking to Kyle now. Hey, what did you have like an aha moment with advanced analytics, or did something just sort of gradually sort of evolve into your lexicon, into how you watch games, or was there one moment you said, "Hang on, there's something here"?
I think it was just gradual over time, just reading some of the stuff that had been put up, online, and start to track and see whether there are any synergies between teams that perform well analytically and those teams that go on to have success. And I guess the first moments or number of moments where it kind of came up is when those there were certain predictions that were made about teams that analytics said were good teams. Maybe the standings didn't reflect that, and then really starting to get my head around the whole process of hockey. I mean, when I first came on to the Soo, I certainly enjoyed reading about this stuff and had plans to incorporate it in, but I was still a big believer in I guess you'd probably describe it as the things that my grandfather taught me that were important in hockey, even though a lot of the things that I learned from him were the things that we still use today and that are used to determine which teams are good in terms of possessing the puck, generating shots, so on and so forth, and the things that initiate the process that lead to those outcomes. But, blocking shots, hits, the things that I loved growing up in players and obviously still do to an extent at certain times, but being able to see the correlation brought out between players that lead the league and or teams that lead the league in those statistics and where they fit in the end in the standings. So that was probably one of the key moments for me later during my time at Uptown Sports, and just kind of went from there.
Yeah, Uptown Sports, then obviously the GM gig with the Soo. I mean, I feel like we're making you out to be Billy Bean here or something, like, you're just a numbers guy. But, I mean, there's so much more to your experience beyond just the analytics thing. I mean, you put your balls on the line in hiring Keefe as your coach. And there was another thing I actually wanted to bring up with you, because I feel like it's sort of quasi in the news now with all this Ray Rice stuff, which was the Nick Cousins thing. Mm-hmm. That was a situation that a lot of people, I'm sure, on both sides of the equation. Like I remember reading a quote from you that said there is no right answer. One group is going to be pissed off no matter how you handle the situation. They wound up not being charged or prosecuted, I should say, for the sexual assault stuff, but they went to treatment for 2 weeks. They missed camp. They missed 3 out of 4 exhibition games. Looking back on it, are you content with the way that you handled things with that?
I don't know that there's so many moving parts to that, and there's no way to talk about it that doesn't come off as insensitive. That's what I've learned. It's some party to the whole situation is upset, and I guess rightfully so. When things of that nature happen, and it obviously happened in Sault Ste. Marie, what's presented as being from me is everything goes through the team's legal department, and the team, and the decision making is you're involved in it, you sit in, you give your opinion, but it goes to the ownership level and the legal department, and you're caught in the crosshairs between obviously publicly what people think is the right thing to do, what privately about the situation and what happened, and then there's the legal side of it where, the lawyer says, well, and the players' agents and so on are saying, well, you can't come down on these guys because they're owed their day in court if that happens, and so on and so forth. It's extremely difficult, and whenever players that that are on your club, where there's, it was just the most difficult thing that we've ever dealt with, and I don't think in those situations, no matter what you do, there's going to be people that say you didn't handle it well, and we tried to do what was best, and in my case, it was you're representing the team and being guided by the legal experts of the team, and that's the way it went there with that situation. But it's not something that I'm proud of, or that obviously I hope to ever go through again. I have 4 younger sisters, and after that incident, it was people were would make comments to me about that. What if it was your sister involved? And it's not something I ever want to experience or go through again. Getting a call at 4:00 in the morning for an incident of that severity and that serious was not good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Business today with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Curious how involved, if at all, because this is still a new gig for you. The Daniel Winnik signing, 1 year with the Toronto Maple Leafs, was that something that you had a hand in, you were a consultant on, and if so, make the case why Daniel Winnik should be a Maple Leaf?
That was a player that Brendan and Dave had liked, and we discussed here internally, and just tried to carve out a way that he could how he would help and benefit the Toronto Maple Leafs next season. And he's available now, and we felt could be a big help. He's got a good track record of soaking up some difficult minutes, and even being able to really play well with some younger players. I'm going back to his Colorado days when he played a lot of minutes with guys like O'Reilly and Landeskog, and had success. And with the direction that the team is going under Brendan and Dave, I think he can be a real good help to us this season. So definitely excited for guys like him and David Booth and James Reimer and Cody Franzen, who've all re-signed here in the last week. Excited to see them in a month or month and a half when we get rolling here.
Being joined by Kyle Dubas, he is the assistant general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I think Wish's line may have dropped. So it's just you and me, Kyle, we'll land this thing. When you look back at your time at the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, and by the way, you leave as they're poised for immense success this year in the OHL. You have I think 12 or 13 returning players, a stack team. I was talking to some OHL kids at the gym today, and they're all like Soo Greyhounds and the Kingston Frontenacs are going to be sick this year. But when you look back at your time in the Soo, what are you most proud of?
So far, certainly I think watching Sheldon develop as a coach and evolve as a coach, and that's been a lot of fun for me. And I think looking at guys like Darnell Nurse and Patrick Watling who've won academic awards, and seeing more importantly, I think guys that we call they're converting from being major junior players to pros by signing NHL deals. We had a real good run last year where 6 guys signed in 6 months, and we had 14 players drafted to the NHL over that time, and that's been seeing that the program continue to take off, and so on. That was that's been the most fun for me. So it's been I'm excited to watch it continue to progress, and they've got some great people there. It was a wonderful place to work, and I'm looking forward to continuing to watch as a fan. And I know that the great things are in store there with Sheldon and the entire staff. So,
last one for me, Kyle. We talked about it briefly. You can't be Kyle anymore, man. You got to be all buttoned up and watching out who you talk about now. Your Twitter feed by far is one of my favorite things, because it's legit all over the place, really good information, stuff on other sports. Can you still be a social media gadfly whilst working for the Toronto Maple Leafs as an assistant GM?
I'm just gonna be myself, and if I don't ever want to change the way that I am. I enjoy the social media aspect of it. I think in the Soo, especially during during the first year and a half when things weren't going great, it was a way for us to connect with fans and sort of keep them on board. But I learn a lot on social media. There's a lot of very interesting people in hockey and in other. Hockey isn't everything in life, obviously, but lots of other interesting information that comes up on there that you learn from, and just reading the discussion that goes on sometimes between people where they're arguing even, but what you can learn from seeing that sort of stuff, I find it to be really interesting. And I don't envision it changing. I envision me just continuing on as myself, and that's that. I don't really want to change, and I won't, I guess.
Hey, listen, Kyle, last question from this microphone, and congratulations and best of luck from all of us here, both at this side of the microphone and everyone listening as well. How many members of your family now have had to burn Detroit Red Wings jerseys since you took the job?
Ridiculous amount. That's probably one of my worst mistakes growing up. Was I had a family full of Red Wing fans, and me wanting to be different, when the Ottawa Senators came in, I jumped to the Sens, which led to a lot of heartbreak right here at the Air Canada Centre later on in my teenage and university days. But that's okay. But I got off the Red Wings bus in about 92, 93, and then missed out on 3 Stanley Cups. Yeah, so not very good decision making by me there, but that's okay. So, but now I get to see them all make the transition over to, I think it's safe to say, in my family, the hated Leafs, and it's amazing how fast they've become fans. It's great.
And just to clarify, did you convert your dog's fandom recently? Did I see that? That
was the doing of my wife, but I think he's a loyal. I think he'll be split between the Greyhounds and the Leafs. Murray, he's a loyal guy. I can't. He didn't look all too thrilled in the photo, as you can see. It wasn't in his familiar Soo Greyhounds garb, so but he'll be okay.
That's awesome. Listen, Kyle, I know you got a lot of heavy lifting to do, both in Toronto and still some business to take care of in the Soo. We wish you all the best, and good luck with the new gig. We'll talk soon.
Thank you very much, guys.